Yakoro nijamane spriyahina. Sakale saman korite shakati dehonata jata jata. Tabito gaimo Harinaam suke aparada behata. Tabe heno kripa labhe jano kritarta hoye nata. Chakri buri ami ati Goramore Anasata. Yogyata vichare Krishna hi pai Tumara karuna sara. Karuna na huile kandiya kandiya pranana rakhibo aro. Karuna na huile kandiya kandiya pranana rakhibo aro. Gurude kripa bindu diya koroye dase tunate shati. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Next, Pralaya. Pralaya payodi jale vritavam veda vihita vahitra sharitra matera vesha madhita nina sharira jai jagadisha hare jai matya jai jagadisha hare. Dharani dharana tina shakra dharisya Kesha bhadita kurma sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Kumade Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Asati Dashana Shikare Dharani Kavalagna Kashanikalam Kakaleva Nimana Keshavadika Ushararupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Barahadev Jai Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Javakara Kamalava Venakama Sukashinga Dalita Nyakasi Sarubhinga Keshavadika Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Shingadev Jai Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Chalayasi Vikramane Valipajita Vamana Paranaka Niradhani Sada Keshavadika Vamana Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Vamanadev Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Shakriya Ruhiramaye Jagaraka Papa Napayasi Payasi Shamika Bhavatapa Keshavadika Vigupati Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Parasharam Hare Jagadisha Hare Vittarasi Dikshurane Dikpati Kamaniya Dashamukha Mauri Parimramaniya Keshavadika Ramasharira Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Krishna Hare Jagadisha Hare Mahakiva Pishi Vishware Vasanam Jaladavam Harahanti Piti Nilikaya Munavam Keshavadika Halatararupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Balaram Jai Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Nindasi Yadya Vedera Ahashti Gatam Sadaya Vidaya Kashita Patigata Keshavadika Jai Gurudev Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Yashani Maha Vaishandarayate Balindalayate Shakrashayam Purvate Halasyanayate Halakalayate Karunyamakanvate Dasa Avatar ki jai, Go Premanande. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, please. Do we have it? Shamalangi? It's there. We only have a few days to memorize this, so we got to get started. Right? Say yes. Yes. Doesn't start there. It starts at 7. This is the Veda base? We don't have our official version yet? Okay. Ashto Shiddharamikagra Manasa Susamahita Prema Gadgadaya Vacha Tanyascha Hridayekshanaha Shipararivacha Brahmadaya Sudagana Muriyota Siddha Sadvaikatana Gatayo Vachasam Pravahe Nararitum Punapi Pitru Kim Toshtam Harhati Same Haridu Grajata. Is that okay? Is it okay, Tone? Okay. Manye Dana Bijana Rupa Kapasu Taujas Teja Prabhava Bala Paurusha Buddhi Yoga Naradanaya Hi Bhavanti Parasya Pumso Bhaktya Tutosha Bhagavan Gajahyuta Bhaya Viprad Vishad Guna Yatada Ravinda Nabha Padara Vinda Vinukachvapacham Varishtam Manyeta Darpita Mano Bhatanehi Tarta Pranam Punati Sakulam Nataburi Mana Naivatmana Prabhurayam Nijalabha Purno Manam Janada Vidushat Karano Vrenite Yad Yashchano Bhagavate Vidati Tamanam Tachatmane Pratimukasya Yata Mukashri Tasmadaham Vigata Viklata Ishvarasya Sarvatmana Mahigranami Yata Manisham Nicho Jayaguna Visargamanu Pravishta Uyeta Yena Hipumana Varnitena Sarvehyani Vidikarastava Ramadayo Vayamiveshana Chodvijantaha Shemaya Bhutaya Utatma Sukhaya Chasya Vikriditam Bhagavato Chirabhatarai Tadyakshramanyum Asurascha Hatastvajaya Modeta Sadhurapi Vrishika Sarpahatya Lokascha Nivritimita Pratiyanti Sarve Rupam Nrishinga Vibhayaya Janasmaranti
Naham pipenya jitate hanakasya Jivarka netra brukuti rabasogratam shrat Antrasrajashratajakeshara shankukarnan Nirada bita digibad aribindakagrat Trastyos maham kripana vatsala dussahogra Samsara chakra kadanat grasatam pranita Vadhasa karma birashattamatengri mulam Pritopa varga sharanam Vaisesika danu Yasmat priya priya viyoga samyoga janma Shokagnina sakalayoni shudhayamana Dukaushadam tadapi dukam atadiyaham Umam brahmani vadame tabadasya yogam Soham priyasya surira paradevataya Lila katastavana shringa varinchikita Agnyastirtam anugrenan guna viprabhukto Durgani te padayugalaya hamsa sangha Balastya neha sharanam pitarau narsingha Nartasya chagadamudanvati macchato now Taptasya tat pratibhivirya ihanja sheshtas Tavad vibhotanubritam tvadupekshitanam Yasmin yato yarhi yena cha yasya yasmad Yasmayatad yaduta yastvaparo parova Bhava karoti vikaroti pratak svabhava Sanshoditastakilam bhavatasvarupam Maya manakshajati karma mayam baliya Kalena chodita gunanumatena pumsa Chando mayam yadata yarpita shodasharam Samsara chakra majakoti taretwadanya Satvam hi nitya vijitatma gunaswadamna Kalo vashikrita vashritya visarga shakti Chakre vrishishta majayeshvara shodashare Nishpidyamanam upakarsha vibho prapannam Drishta maya divi vibho kiladishyapanam Ayashrayo vibhava icchati yanjato yam Yesmat katu kupita hasa vrijambritabru Vispurjitena lulita satute nirasta Tasmada mushtanubritam aham ashishogya Ayushriyam vibhavam aindriyam avarinshad Nikshami te vilulitan uravikramena Kalatmanopanayamam nijabritya parshvam Putra shisha shruti sukha mrigatrishni rupa Vedam kalevaram ashesha rujam viroha Nirvidyate natujano yarapiti vidvan Kamanalam marulavai shamayam durapai Kvaham raja prabhava ishatamodi kesmin Jata sure tarakule kvahananukampa Na brahmano natu bhavasya na vairamaya Yanmer pita shirasi padmakara prasada Naisha paravaramatir bhavato nanusyaj Jantor yatatma surido jagatastatapi Samsevaya suratarolivate prasada Sevanurupa mudayo naparavaratvam Evam janam nipatitam prabhavahi kupe Kama bhikama manuya prapatan prasangad Pridvat nusat surashina bhagavan grihita Soham katam duvisrijeta vabritya sevam Matrana rakshana mananta paturvadascha Manye swabritya rishivakya mritam vidatum Khadgam pragriha yadavocha dasadviditsus Tvam ishvaro madaparo vatukam harani Ekastvameva jagad etam amushya yatvam Adyantayo pritagavasya simadyatascha Krishva gunavyatikaram nijamaya yedam Naneva terra vasitastadanu pravishta Tvam va idam sarasadisha bhavamstatonyo Maya yadatma parabhutiriyam yapartha Yadyasya janma nidanam stitir ikshanam cha Tadvaitareva vasukala vadashtitarvo Nyasyedamahmani jagad vilayam bhumadye Sheshe manani jasukhanubhavo niriha Yogena milita drigatmani pita nidras Duryostito natutamo nagunamscha yunshe Tasyaiva teva puridam nijakala shaktya Sanchodita prakriti dharmana atma kudham Ambasyananta shayanad viramat samade Nabera bhutsva kanika vatavan mahabjam Tatsambhava kaviratonya dapashyamanas Tvambijamātmani tatham sabahir vichintya Navindad abda shatam apsu nimajjamano Jaten kure katamaho palabheta bijam Satvatma yonir ativismita ashritobjam Alena tivra tapasa parishuddha bhava Atmanisha bhuvigandam ivati sukshmam Utendriyasha yamaye vitatam datarsha Evam sahasravadanam rishirakaroru Nasadya karna nayana bharana yudhadyam Maya mayam sarupa lakshita sannivesham Krishva mahapurusham ahpamudam pariksha Tasmai bhavanaya shirastanuvam hi bibrat Vedadruhamanivalomatuhaita bhakyao Hadvana yakshutiganamscha rajastamascha Sattvam pratamam tanu amananti Itam vritiryagrishadeva jashavatarai Lokan vibhavayasi hamsi jagat pratipan Dharmam mahapurusha pasi yugana vrittam Chandakala yadabhavastri yugota sattvam Naitan manastava katasu vikuntanata Sampriyate durita dushtam asatu tivram Kamaturam harsha shuka vayanishanartam Tasmin katam mimrishami dina Jivai katot tavikarshati mavritripta Shishnonyatasvadudaram shravanam kutaschit Granonyataschapadrik pachakarma shaktir Bhavyasa patnya iha geha patim lunanti Evam sakarma patitam bhavavaitaranyam Anyonya janma maranashana pita pitam Pashyanchanam svabharatigraha vairamaitram Anteti parachara piprihi buddhamadya Konyatra te kilaguro bhagavan prayasa Uttarane svabhava sambhava lopaheto Udeshu vai mahadanugraha artha bandho Kintena te priyajanana sevatam na Naivod vijay paraduratyaya vaitaranyas Twadvirya gayana mahamrita bhakta chitta Shocheta to vimukha cheta sa indriyartha Maya sukhaya paramudvahato vimudhan Prayena deva munayaksva vimukti kama Naunam charanti vijanena parartha nishta Naitan vihaya kripanam vivamuksha eko Nanyam tvarasya sharanam brahmatonu pashye Yanmaitu nadi griha medi sukham hitushcham Kandu yanena kodayori patukha tukam Tripyanti neha kripana bahutukha paja Kanduti van manasijam vishaheta dhira Mauna vratashuta dharma Vakya raho japa samadhaya apavargya Praya param purushate tvajitendriyanam Varta bhavankyutana vatra tudambikanam Rupe ime sarasati tava veda shrishte Bijan kura vihana chanyada rupa kasya Yukta samakshamupayatra vichanshate tvam Yogena vanimiva darshunayatasya Tvam vayuragniravanirvihadambumatra Pranendriyanardiyam chidanugrahasya Sarvam tvadeva saguno vigunascha bhuman Nanyatvadastyapi mano vachasa niruktam Naite gunana guneno mahadadayo ye Sarve mana pravritaya sahadeva martya Adyantavanta urugaya vidanti hitvam Evam vivrishya sudiyo viramanti shabdat Tate ratam manamastuti karma puja Karma smritishcharanayo shravanam kutayam Samsevaya tvai vineti shadangayakim Bhaktim jana paramahamsa katau labeta Srinardu vacha etavad varika guno Bhaktya bhaktena nirguna Pragadam pranatam prito Yatha mayura bhashata Shri Bhagavanu vacha Parada bhadra bhadram te Pritoham te surotamam Vanam Vrishvaham Kahmapurosmyaham Grenam Om Tat Sat. Now let's read the first 5 translations.
please, starting with verse 7. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Shall we together? Prahlad Maharaj fixed his mind and sight upon Lord Nrsimhadev with full attention and complete trance. With a fixed mind, he began to offer prayers in love with a faltering voice. Prahlad Maharaj prayed, "How is it possible for me, who have been born in a family of asuras, to offer suitable prayers to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Even until now, all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma and all the saintly persons could not satisfy the Lord by streams of excellent words, although such persons are very qualified, being in the mode of goodness. And what is to be said of me? I am not at all qualified." Prahlad Maharaj continued, "One may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory experience, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. If a Brahmana has all 12 of the Brahminical qualifications, as they are stated in the book called Siddhartha, but is not a devotee and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, he is certainly lower devotee who is a dog eater, but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life, to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee is better than such a Brahmana, because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas the so-called Brahmana, in a position of false prestige, cannot purify even himself. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always fully satisfied in himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offering by the Lord's mercy is for the benefit of the devotee. For the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated. Should blood Maharaj ki jai. That was 5, right? Yes. So, who can say how many days we have left until Nrsimha Chaturdasi? Would somebody please look it up? And then we'll say how many days we have. And then somebody today can order a countdown timer. Could somebody volunteer to do that? A countdown timer. We'll put it somewhere where we can see it and count down the days. 178 days. What's the date? May 21st, 178 days. Just look up a countdown timer now and see if we can order it right away.
We can get one, Marge. Yeah, we
You can get one?
Yes.
Okay. We'll count it down. We'll put it somewhere, not so it distracts anybody, but we'll be able to see the countdown timer. 178 days to go. And then we have 2 other goals, right? One is by the Gaur Purnima, we're all going to make sure that we know the Mangalacharana. Yes?
Yes.
Mangalacharana of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's the first, how many verses? 17? 14 plus 3. 18, Thakur Gauriyaki Karyanachan Atmasat. What number is that? Somebody look it up. That's 14? 18? 17? There's one after that. Tinera charan vandong tine mononat. Is everybody into this? Say yes. Just say yes anyway. See, because you never know what potency you might have if you volunteer for things for Krishna. Don't think you're doing it by your own power. We have to have big goals. You have to think Dhruva Maharaj throughout your life. Otherwise, you get bored and you just get absorbed and carried away by mindless things. And unless you have a strong goal that keeps you up at night for Krishna, like Dhruva Maharaj definitely kept him up at night. So 19 verses, of the first 19 verses of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Everyone who's in for it, raise your hand. Come on. Okay, and then there's one other. We have to memorize the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita because we're going to learn the whole Gita together. And we're starting with the first 6 chapters that are the internal chapters. They're kept in a box, protected inside box. So it starts with chapter 7. And that means, what's our deadline for that? Gita Jayanti this year. So how many days do we have for that? Our official timekeeper.
27.
27 days to memorize the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay?
Yes.
Come on, yes.
Yes.
So main thing is put yourself in a position where you can see it regularly. So today we need to have some PDFs of this chapter, the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and the first 18 verses of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so it can be printed out. Who's the best person to do that? Prikashori, you'll do it? Might you collaborate with Shamalangi, because she's probably going to work on these other ones. And then you can put together a PDF package. And then the dates should be prominent. And we're going to need a few countdown timers. I think there's some app or something where you can count down a bunch of things at the same time. All right. Any thoughts or realizations about memorizing verses and the importance of it? Or aversion to it? Complaints? Pushing too hard? Don't be ridiculous. It's good for us. Definitely scientifically proven that it's called the Sanskrit effect. When you memorize Sanskrit verses, your brain grows bigger. Anybody here would like to have a bigger brain? Okay. Shall we have Bhagavatam class? Okay. Vanchakalpatarishya kripasinabhevacha patitanam bhavani. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. You got the right drum? Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. So, just a little free space that we're going to, for our Mangalacharna, chant the verses from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a very fine Mangalacharna, don't you agree? But not very much. Yes. So we'll chant this Mangalacharna from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and that way everyone will have a free space because you have to memorize it anyway, right? Okay, this is a good start. But I don't think this is it. I think it starts with Vande Gurum Isha Bhaktan, Ishan Isha Vatarakan, if I'm not incorrect. In the meantime, we'd like to welcome back Sharad Bihari Mukunda and Priya Kishori, who have been on an incredible journey. You can write a book about it. But it's a way, oftentimes Krishna moves us in ways in which then we appreciate more where we are and what we have. But we certainly appreciate your incredible journey to come back here. And very heartfelt that you've come back, and we'd like to welcome you both. It's not easy, right? Because then you realize that you're up against forces that are beyond your control to come back here. And thank you, everyone, for coming out on a Saturday morning. It's so good to see all of you. And look forward to the next few weeks together before we go back for the Youth Yatra in Calcutta and Mayapur. Let's do this Mangalacharana, very beautiful. We should all work on this on our spare time also. The PDF will be available. You can, we'll get a recording of it. You can listen to it when you're driving and when you're cooking and things like that. And then everyone will know the Mangalacharana. Vande Guru Nisha Bhakta Nisha Nisha Avatarakam Tat Prakasham Statash Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Samyakam Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Godo Tai Pushpavantao Chitra Shandao Tabodudao Yadadvaitam Brahmopanishadi Taratyasya Tanuva Ya Atman Taryani Purusha Iti Sosham Shivibhavaha Shadaishvaryai Puno Yaiha Bhagavansa Swayamayam Nachaitanya Krishna Jagati Paratattvam Paramiha Somehow we're. What about that other tune we took from Bhaktivinoda Manor? This isn't the same, is it? What we're doing now? It had a little more of a lift to it. Yeah. Anarpita charim shirat karanayavatirna kalau narpayitu munato jvalarasam sabhakti shriyam Hari purata sundara dhyuti kadamba sandipita Sadavadaya khandare spurato vasachinandana Radha Krishna pranaya vikritir vadhini shaktirasman Ekatmana vapi puvi puradiha petam katautau Chaitanyakyam prakatamaruna tadvayam chaikyamatam Radha bhava dhyuti suvalitam naumi Krishna sarupam Shri Radhaya pranaya mahima kidrisho vanayaiva Swadyo yena bhuta madharima kidrisho vamaniyaha Saukyam chasya mad anubhavata kidrisham veti lobha Tad bhavatya samajani shachigarbha sindho harindu Sankarshana kananato vashayi Garbhodashayi cha payodishayi Sheshascha yasyam shakalasa nitya Nandakya rama sharanam mamastu Mayati te vyapi vaikunta loke Punaishvarye shri chaturvyuha madhye Rupam yasyopati sankarshanakyam Tam shri nityananda ramam prapadye Maya varta janda sangashrayanga Shete sakshat karanam bodhi madhye Yasyai shri puman adi devas Tam shri nityananda ramam prapadye Yasyam shamsha shrila garbhodashayi Yamnabhyabjam lokasanghatanalam Lokashrastu sutikadavadatus Tam shri nityananda ramam prapadye Yasyam shamsha paratma kilanam Poshta Vishnur Bhati Dugdabdishayi Shauni Bharata Yakkala Sokyanantas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Mahavishnu Jagatkarta Maya Yasrajatyada Tasyavatara Evayam Advaita Charya Ishvara Advaitam Harinadvaitam Acharyam Bhakti Shamshana Bhagavataram Ishantam Advaita Charyam Ashraye Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhagavataram Bhaktakyam Namani Bhakta Shaktikam Jayatam Suratau Pangor Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarvasva Padam Bojau Radha Mananamohanau Divya Vrindaranya Kopadurmata Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanastau Srimad Radha Shiva Govinda Devo Krishtali Sevyamano Smarani Srimad Rasada Sarangi Vamshivata Tatastita Harsham Venu Swane Gopir Gopinata Shri Estunaha Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhaktavinda Hey Teen Thakur Gaurayaki Karyachina Atmasa Hey Teen Yera Charan Bondo Tine Murna Rantera Vambe Kari Mangamalakshana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tine Rasmarana Tine Rasmarana Vijnani Anayasi Vanchita Purana Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Premanande, Hare Bo. Today we're reading from the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 29, the explanation of devotional service, and we'll take up our reading at text number 22. Yo mam sarveshu bhuteshu santam atmanamishvaram hitvarcham bhajate maudyad basmanyeva juhotisa. The first word in the verse is ya, one who. Mam, you can repeat. Mam means me. Sarveshu, in all. Bhuteshu. Santam, being present. Atmanam, the Paramatma. Ishvaram, the Supreme Lord. So, what does the first line mean? I mean, the first line means the first two lines. It's just stacked. So what does the first line mean? Don't look at the word for word. Just show the Sanskrit. Move it down. No, not all at once, just one at a time. One person volunteer. Go ahead, take the mic. Tech support on aisle 3, yes.
One who sees in all living entities.
Sees what?
The second, Atmanam Ishvara.
No, line 1 is, there's 2 lines in this.
Yes.
The first line is the first 2 lines.
Okay. One who sees in all living entities, the super soul that is present in the heart.
Okay. Anybody else had anything else to say about that? You all agree? Yes.
Here, the word also Santam is mentioned. Somebody who is spiritually enlightened. I don't know, I'm just guessing.
Santam,
I don't know.
being present.
Okay, Santam is present actually, yeah. Atmanam Ishwaram. Okay. Ishvara is the Atma.
So what does it mean, Ishvara? Do you agree? Ishvaram means the controller. Are we the Ishvara? How do you know? empirical evidence that you're not the controller? No? Not so much? Kennedy?
I was going to say, if any of us have ever tried to control anything.
Didn't work out so well? Yeah?
Prabhupada says in his purports that we are minute Ishwaras, but we are not. And we also try to control Swam because we're part of Krishna.
Okay. Anybody else have to anything say? Shastric evidence, anything? Where do you find a verse that has the word Ishvara in it? Let's have 4 verses that have the word Ishvara in it with a small commentary, not all at once, one at a time.
Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam.
Go ahead, do the whole thing and give a full commentary.
Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridayeshi Arjuna Tishtati. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudani Maya. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridayeshi Arjuna. So Krishna is saying that Ishvara is present as Sarva Bhutani. He's present in every living entity. As Paramatma. That's what he's saying to Arjuna. And those living entities are Hridayeshi Arjuna Tishtati, Brahma, Yantra Rudani Maya. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking about the senses. They're using the senses.
Yantra means a machine.
Machine, okay. So they're using this machine, Yantra Rudani Maya, under the influence of the Maya Devi.
Anybody have anything more to say about the verse? Go ahead, Priya. No? Oh, it's a famous verse. Who wants to say more about this particular verse? Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridayeshi Arjuna Tishtati. Yes.
Actually, it refers to the living entities who are situated in the bodily machines. They are trying to enjoy, which is under the direction of the Maya, Yantra Rudani Maya.
What about Yantra? Say more about that, somebody. Somebody else.
Yantra
Rudrani Maya Ya. It's a machine made out of material energy, right? So the living entity is, Krishna speaking the verse, no? So he's saying that the living entity is riding on this machine made of material energy. Check and see if you have one. Do you have a machine made of material energy? Check in. It's a machine, right? Say yes, it's not you. It's your machine you're riding in. Yantra Rudrani Maya. It's made out of material energy. Confirm. Yeah, not spiritual body. It's your machine body. And so Krishna says, I'm there. I travel with you wherever you go. Whatever new machine you take, I go there with you as the Ishvara. Okay? Anything more? Yes? Give Sharad the...
Another verse.
Keep it
Hare
close.
Krishna. Hare Krishna Raj. Avajananti mamudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavamajanantam mama bhuta maheshwaram. So maha ishwaram. So that's another verse that has Ishwara.
Say the verse again.
Avajananti mamudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavamajanantah mama bhuta maheshwaram.
Is that the last line? Look it up. Yeah? Mama Bhuta Maheshwaram. Okay, say something about it.
Yeah, so, in that verse, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna about how fools deride him when they see that the Lord appears in the material world, appearing to be an ordinary person, but actually he's not, his body is not material, but it belongs to the spiritual energy.
Okay. Go ahead.
From the Ishopanishad, Ishavasya idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita magrida krasya siddhanam. That verse says that everything animate or inanimate within this universe is controlled and owned by the Lord, and therefore one should only accept things that are necessary for himself, and they're set aside as his quota.
And one should not accept other things
that do not belong.
Knowing well to whom they belong, right? Does all things animate and inanimate cover pretty much everything? Is it a solid contract? Attorneys? How many law students we have in here? None? All engineering? Okay. So, yeah, it covers everything. And so he says, in this, verse, Ishavasyam idam sarvam, that if we have this conception that Ishavasya, that there's a supreme controller who controls and owns everything, and we act in that way, the next verse says, Kurvane viha karmani jijivishakshatam samaha evam tvainanyate tostina karma lipitenari. You don't get karma. And this is true in tax law also. If you're a person who knows the tax law and you don't own anything, there are many people who have money, but then they don't own it on paper because it belongs somewhere else. It's just at their disposal as part of a larger entity, like in a corporation. Corporation owns everything, and the person then is given the right to use certain things within the corporation, but technically on paper they're not his or hers. They belong to the corporation. So that person isn't individually taxed for it because it's just using it in the service of the company. For instance, they take a flight somewhere, it was based on a company business, and then that they don't have to pay tax on that. Like any accountants? No accountants? No accountants? No lawyers? Okay. So in the same way, Ishavasya spirit means that if you recognize the truth, that is, I don't own anything, it all belongs to Ishvara. And therefore you move in the world, but you don't take any, you don't claim any of it for yourself. You just say, oh, it's all a write-off because I'm using it all for Krishna. I'm not touching anything because whatever I touch, it's not for me. I don't claim it as my own. Tena tyaktena, bunjita, anything that's been set aside for my quota, I use that and nothing else. Then you don't get karma. Okay, was one more. Times 5. Okay, one more. We'll move on and everyone else will have a chance for more.
Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So Ishvara Parama Krishna, the controller of all controllers, who is Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchid Ananda Vigraha, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Vigraha means one who is full of those.
He has a form.
It's like the form, yes. Anadi means without any beginning. Adi meaning the first. Govinda, who
Lord of the cows.
Yeah. Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes.
Okay.
It's the first verse of
the low-hanging fruit for that one. So in this verse, Yo mam sarveshu bhuteshu. Sarveshu, everyone knows, means all. Bhuteshu, living entities. So santam atmanam ishvaram. So the words again are one who is able to notice that the Supersoul, the Paramatma, is present within all living beings. So take a look around. See if you see any living beings in here. Any living beings? There's a few. And notice that, or just theoretically see that the Supersoul is present within the heart. And also see the body as a yantra. It's just a machine made of material energy. The real presence, the living entity, is there within the body, but there's not just one. There's two living entities. One is the individual soul, and the other is the Supersoul, the Param Atma, the Supreme Soul, is there present within everyone's body. Isn't that amazing? Say yes. Yes. It's amazing. Okay, let's look at the next few lines in the word for word. Now, this next word is hitva. Hitva means disregarding. Archam, the deity. Bhajate, worships. Maudhyat, because of ignorance. Basmani, into ashes. Where did you think of the word basmani somewhere else? Verse 17. Right? Verse 17 of the Sri Ishopanishad. Who can say that one? No, it's not Hiranmayena Patrena. Vayur Anilam Amritam. It's the one we love. Vayur because it's so macabre. Vayur Anilam Amritam. Atedam Bashwantam Shariram Om Kratos Smara Kritam Smara Kratos Smara Kritam Smara. Let this temporary body be burnt to Basmantam. Ashes. So we got ashes are a metaphor here for something that's useless. Okay, Basmantam. We Basmani into ashes. Eva only. Juhoti means offers oblations. So Juhoti, who knows where else the word Juhoti is used? Yakoroti arashnasi, yasjuhoshi dadasiyat. Whatever you offer to me, whatever you offer, do it as an offering to me. And then saha, he. And here's the translation. One who worships the deity of Godhead in the temples, but does not know that the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is situated in every living entity's heart, must be in ignorance and is compared to one who offers oblations into ashes. Let's say it together. One who worships the deity of Godhead in the temples, but does not know that the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is situated in every living entity's heart, must be in ignorance, and is compared to one who offers oblations into ashes. And here's your purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is stated clearly herein that the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his plenary expansion of Supersoul is present in all living entities. The living entities have 8,400,000 different kinds of bodies, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is living in every body, both as the individual soul and as the Supersoul. Since the individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, in that sense, the Lord is living in every body. And as Supersoul, the Lord is also present as a witness. In both cases, the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living entity and everywhere else are in the mode. Did I miss something? The presence of God in every living entity is essential. Therefore, persons who profess to belong to some religious sect, but who do not feel the presence of the Supreme Personality of God in every living entity and everywhere else, are in the mode of? That's pretty low, right? Doesn't get any lower than that. If without this preliminary knowledge of the Lord's omnipresence, one simply attaches himself to the rituals in a temple, church, or mosque, it is as if he were offering butter into ashes rather than into fire. One offers sacrifices by pouring clarified butter into a fire and chanting Vedic mantras. But even if there are Vedic mantras and all conditions are favorable, if the clarified butter is poured onto ashes, then such a sacrifice will be useless. In other words, a devotee should not ignore any living entity. In other words, a devotee should not ignore any living entity. Let's say that together. In other words, a devotee should not ignore any. So going by that statement, what would you give as a definition for a devotee? Take the mic. I don't want to hear it all at once. Go ahead. Vaisesika. Turn it into a positive definition of a devotee. A devotee is one who?
A devotee is the one who respects everyone, shows respect to everyone.
That's nice, respect. Okay. Devotee is one who respects everything, every living entity. How does that sit with you? Do you like the sound of it? To respect every living entity? Or we should hate some people and like others? What is your opinion? Which sounds better to you? Anshu? Respecting? Okay.
A devotee is one who gives attention to everyone.
Gives attention to everyone. Okay. Anyone else? A devotee is?
A devotee is someone who's mindful of everyone.
Mindful of everyone. Very nice.
A devotee is one who makes everyone feel like they have a sign around them that says, "Make me feel special."
Okay, Shastra Sar.
Devotee is the friend of every living entity.
Friend of all living entities, okay. Yes?
One who sees God in everybody.
One who sees God in everyone. So the devotee, yes, Kennedy? Last one.
The devotee is the one who can acknowledge Krishna's presence in each individual.
Acknowledge Krishna's presence in each individual. Those are all nice. And so Prabhupada says here, in other words, a devotee should not ignore any living entity. The devotee must know that in every living entity, however insignificant he may be, what's the most insignificant kind of living entity you can think of? An ant. Could have been a violinist in last life, right? So the ant, any other insignificant living entity? Mosquito. That's the most significant living entity. It's the most dangerous entity on earth, actually. But we still respect the fact that the super soul's within the heart. We can also marvel at the creation, because although Boeing and Airbus can make large airplanes, they can't make a tiny one that's this big that can fly around and land properly and get back up, what to speak of reproduce. So the devotee must know that in every living entity, however insignificant he may be, even an ant, God is present, and therefore every living entity should be kindly treated. Who said kind? Kindly treated, and should not be subjected to any violence. I see nowadays there's a lot of tattoos. You can get a lot of lines in. You can put all this on there if you want to get it. All these lines you can tattoo. Bona fide. In modern civilized society, slaughterhouses are regularly maintained and supported by a certain type of religious principle. But without knowledge of the presence of God in every living entity, any so-called advancement of human civilization, either spiritual or material, is to be understood as being in the mode of ignorance. But without knowledge of the presence of God in every living entity, any so-called advancement of human civilization, either spiritual or material, is to be understood as being in the mode of ignorance. So the practice of Krishna consciousness is summarized by Bhaktivinoda Thakur when he says, Jive doi Krishna nam sarva dharma sar. Who knows what that means? Jive doi. Yes, Prabhu. And by the way, welcome. Thank you for bringing your traveling party from Los Angeles. Let's welcome our brahmacharis.
Thank you, Vaisesika Prabhu. This is Jiva Doi, means compassion towards all jivas. And what was the next one? Nam Ruch?
Krishna Nam.
Krishna Nam is the holy name of Krishna.
Sarva Dharma Sar.
This is the essence of all dharma or religious principles.
The essence of all religious principle is to show compassion to living beings by giving them Krishna consciousness, giving them the holy names, giving them information about the spiritual world. And when we're isolated and we have some ritual where we're worshiping God and where we disregard the living entity, then this is compared to offering ghee on ashes. You're not getting connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nor is it pleasing to Him. So the gradations of devotees are mentioned in the Shastra. It says, Acharyam eva haraye pujam yasharaye hate na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smrita. There's a way in which the Havi Yogendra describes the various levels of devotees. So the lowest of all is someone who's a devotee in name only, called a prakrita bhakta, means materialistic, which is a contradiction in terms, because a devotee actually is not material or materialistic, but is transcendental. However, it's mentioned here that the person who is only interested in worshipping the deity. Archaryameva hare pujamya shraddhe hite. Their only faith is in the deity. They don't see that two entities they don't see mentioned in this verse, natad bhakteshu. They don't understand how worshipable devotees are. In fact, in the Bhagavatam, madbhakta puja bhyadika, Krishna says in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you want to worship me, the proper way is to worship my devotee. In the story of Bahulasva and what's his counterpart? Shrutadev, there's a way that one of them is very poor and the other one's rich. So Krishna comes to see both of them because they're both pure devotees. So Krishna likes to be with his devotees. And who did he bring with him to meet with Bahulasva and Shrutadev? Pretty much everybody. He brought Vyasadeva and a host of other sages, and he brought them on his chariot. And generally, sadhus don't like to ride on chariots. At least back then. Nowadays it's necessary. Prabhupada talked about flying around the world 14 times in a jet. He said this is utilizing the material energy in Krishna's service. But out of principle, sadhus would eschew the use of vehicles like a chariot. But when Krishna asks you to get in his chariot, then you don't say, no thanks, I'd rather walk. So they all got on the chariot and they went with Krishna on this excursion to meet these two great devotees. Each was a pure devotee, but each had a different circumstance. That's instructive in and of itself because one was a king and the other was a pauper, at least very poor, lived this very simple life. And when they went on the journey, people lined up along the roadside to get a glimpse of Krishna, and all the chariot was going very fast. Krishna, in his omniscience and omnipresence and being omnipotent, was able to make eye contact with every one of them. I remember once when I was a kid, I used to go to Mexico regularly with my parents, especially during Easter break. We'd all pile in the VW microbus and drive down to Mexico. And one time when we were there, the president of Mexico was traveling cross country, and everyone came out of their houses and lined the roads for miles and miles and miles, and they all put on their best outfits, and they all had flowers, and then when the president went by, it was in a motorcade, and he went very fast down the road. And Krishna did this same thing, only he was able to reciprocate with everybody along the way. The president of Mexico, not so much. And when they arrived, that is Krishna and the sages, near the residences of Shrutadev and Bahulasva, then Krishna, to accommodate both of them at the same time, expanded himself, but not just himself, also the sages. That's Krishna's power. That he wanted to see them both at the same time, and he also did so in such a way that they both felt that he was only going to see them. And who was the king and who was the pauper? A reminder, please. Shrutadev and Bahulasva. Look it up. So he went to their home. So he went to the home of the king first, and I'll tell you who that was in just a second. And when he went there, he was given a royal reception, as were all the sages, because that was the facility that he had. And he also went to the king is Bahulasva. And Bahulasva gave a royal reception, royal feast, ornate sitting arrangements for everyone, washed Krishna's lotus feet, took the water on his head, and then also at Shrutadev's house, although Shrutadev only had a little straw mat he could offer anybody, and a little water, not so much facility. But Krishna was equally satisfied. And at the house of Shrutadev, Shrutadev began glorifying Krishna. And he did so much that Krishna stopped him and said, too much. Too much glorification. He said, all these sages are here. He said, you glorify them. Don't glorify me. It's profound because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God and all the sages there. But he was noticeably annoyed that he was over-glorifying Krishna and not glorifying the sages. This is based on the principle that Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param tasmat paratanam devi that's on tadyanam samarchana. That if you want to offer the best kind of worship to Krishna, then you worship tadiya, those things that are dear to Krishna, most dear to Krishna. And this is indicative of the way it's that Madbhakta Puja Bhyadika, Krishna says, look up, see where that verse comes from in the 10th canto. Maybe it's in relationship to this story. Madbhakta Puja Bhyadika means if you want to worship me, then worship my bhaktas. And we also hear Dvaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovinam Cha. Next line. Vedeshu Durlabham. You may be a great scholar and study the Vedas, but that's very difficult. It's prohibitive. You can't understand Krishna. Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham. But Adurlabham, what's the path of Adurlabham? Means it's not very difficult to attain. I'm a bhakta, my devotee. If you worship my devotee, then Adurlabham, it's very easy. It's simple to come to me, he says. And so this advanced devotional service is to understand what pleases Krishna the most, to please Krishna's tadiya, or his devotees. Whereas the lowest position, this so-called devotional service is mentioned here, Archayam eva hariye, pujam yasharayete. You think you're worshiping Krishna. It's like, oh yeah, Krishna's in the temple and I see his form there and I'm doing puja to him. But then when the devotee comes, I ignore him. In fact, in the padatis that talk about deity worship, when you're worshiping the deities and a devotee comes, you're supposed to make sure that the devotee is satisfied and then you go back to your deity worship. Because the bhakta is more important than worshiping Krishna in Krishna's eyes. So you wouldn't want to ignore the devotee and then just, I'm worshiping Krishna, forget about the devotee. This is Vaishnava culture. Where does it come from? 11th canto, 19th chapter. What's the name of the chapter? Perfection of spiritual knowledge. And can you say the context? Better take a microphone because this is a detailed operation here. Whatever you can give me.
It comes in a series of 4 verses or 5 verses, and I can read the translation of them. It says, firm faith in the blissful narrations of my pastimes, constant chanting of my glories, unwavering attachment to ceremonial worship of me, praising me through beautiful hymns, great respect for my devotional service, offering obeisances with the entire body, performing first-class worship of my devotees, consciousness of me in all living entities, offering of ordinary bodily activities in my devotional service, use of words to describe my qualities, offering the mind to me, rejection of all material desires, giving up wealth for my devotional service, renouncing material sense gratification and happiness, and performing all desirable activities such as charity, sacrifice, chanting, vows, and austerities with the purpose of achieving me. These constitute actual religious principles by which those human beings who have actually surrendered themselves to me automatically develop love for me. What other purpose or goal could remain for my devotee?
Who would like to attain all of those qualities? Okay. Just the desire to have them. I read in a letter, Prabhupada, a very sincere gentleman had written to Prabhupada and saying, I wish I could be sincere in the practice of devotional service. And Prabhupada said, the desire to be sincere is the same as being sincere. And so those who are attracted to these qualities and who want to attain them, means at least in a fledgling way, that the attainment of them, and then one can focus one's attention on devotional service with the goal of attaining these qualities. So back to the point at hand, which is that Mad Bhakta Puja Vyadika, if one, Krishna or Kavi Yogendra says, Havi Yogendra says, Archaryam eva hare pujam yashradeyate natad bhakteshu. If you don't recognize the devotees and worship the devotees in the proper ways, then you're not considered to be a proper devotee. And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, when we were at in the vicinity of Market and Powell, I don't know what the cross street is where we were doing our Harinaam. Do you? Well, we were somewhere down there, and we were having a Harinaam Sankirtan. And I started noticing that there were some devotees down there in the crowd, but they were a little covered. There was one gentleman who was drinking, but he didn't want to leave the Kirtan. And he kept doing this. He came around. We saw him a few times coming up and down the street, but when the Harinaam started, he camped out right in front. And someone came over, I don't know who it was, but someone came over and gave him a mat to sit on. Who did that? Was it one of ours? It was, who? Ananda Chaitanya Prabhu offered him a mat to sit on? That, I think, was a very thoughtful thing to do. That's the spirit of the Sankirtan movement. If somebody comes near and obviously wants to hear, we make facility. That's why we build a temple. It's like a little mat to sit on for people, because it's like, you want to hear something about God? Come here, you can sit down. If we're on the street and somebody comes and they show some proclivity that they want to hear the holy name like he did, and he's showing respect, he was even saying Hare Krishna, then as it says in the Upadeshamrita, Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta. So that person who shows respect to the holy name or says the holy name, Hare Krishna, that person, we should show regard. In our mind, we should be thinking in a worshipful way, this person is very special. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if I hear one person in the crowd say Hare Krishna, then I consider that person amongst all the multitude of other people to be the best. Because, of course, aho batashwa pachato gariyan, yajiva revan vartate nama tubhyam, tipus tapaste juhuvusasna arya brahmanachur nama granante ete. As Devotee says, oh, this person is special, because he or she said Hare Krishna. It means they've graduated from many other kinds of insignificant rituals in the Vedas and been to all holy places personified. This is a kind of honoring of that person. There were other people. There was an elderly gentleman. I don't know, I think, Malini, were you facilitating him? Yes, she's online somewhere. She was. There was a gentleman with white hair, and he came over, and what was his story? Uh-oh. Malini got off the plane and then just went downtown all night to distribute books. We lost contact. So,
Prabhu, can you hear me?
Oh no, what happened?
Prabhu, I lost my voice, Prabhu.
Not very good.
Prabhu, he came looking for a self-realization book, and he said he likes Paramahamsa Yogananda. And I showed him the science of self-realization. I showed the Bhagavad Gita, and I showed him the Maha Mantra. He was really interested. So I said, why don't you sit down and listen to the mantra? So he sat on gave him a chair. He was hesitating where to sit. So when he gave him the chair, he sat down, and he was chanting the mantra from the card.
So what Malini did was first-class worship. You find a person, anybody in the crowd, and they want to hear Hare Krishna. They want to come closer to Krishna, and you go out of your way to facilitate them. You give them a chair, you give them water, you give them whatever they want, and let them be there and hear the holy name, because you know that that's first-class worship of the Lord within the heart. Because tapyante lokatapena sarava prayasojana parama aradhanam tadi purushasya kilatmana. Lord Shiva says the statement, Dhanavari. Lord Shiva says, or Shukadev says about Lord Shiva, said, look at Lord Shiva. When the time to save the universe came, he didn't hesitate. He took a sacrifice on himself. It's not really pleasant to drink poison, is it? Say no. Yeah. It's not pleasant to drink poison, but Lord Shiva, when he saw the universe was being threatened and all the living entities, he said, I'll do it. And so he swallowed it because he's the supreme mystic. He was able to hold it in his throat, and that's why his throat turned blue. So check everyone if they've ever drank poison, see a blue throat. Actually, you just die. Lord Shiva doesn't die because he's so powerful. But he did it, Shukadeva Goswami says, as a form of worship because he understood that parama aradhanam. Aradhana means worship. And the parama aradhana means the supreme worship is tapyante lokatapena for the sake of helping the people of the world, all the living entities. You go out of your way, you perform some tapasya in order to save them, to do good for them. He said, that's the best way to worship God who's in everyone's heart. Because that's the purpose. Krishna has a purpose for the creation, right? Say yes. It's not random. It's not existentialism that's like, oh, there's no meaning to the world. There is a meaning to the world. And the real meaning is to give every living entity a chance to go back to Godhead and not toil here in the material world. So let me see if I can trace my steps back. This kind of observation that you said, who gave the chair? Who gave the mat? Ananta Chaitanya gave a mat to that person who I was feeling sorry for him because he's a devotee, but he couldn't stop drinking. He was pouring it into a paper cup to try to be a little discreet, but he was drinking nonetheless, but he couldn't leave the holy name, and he wanted to chant, and he offered his obeisances to the Vaishnavas and so forth. And this other man, for whatever reasons, he had some sense, I want to be close to the chanting. He recognized this is spiritual. So when you find people like that, to offer them all facility, this is a kind of worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's what Prabhupada did. What are books? They're a facility to take all the information in one place so that a person, any person who has the wherewithal to do so, can absorb it and improve their life. And it's the preoccupation of Vaishnavas. They're paradukha-dukhi. They suffer when they see other people suffering. They want to give them the advantage of getting knowledge so they can rise above it. We should feel sorry for that person, that let me help him rise above this habit of becoming intoxicated so they could just live a blissful life in control of their senses and using their senses, sarvapari vinirmuktam, in the service of Krishna. So that's a first observation of where devotees are amongst the crowd in the world. If somebody shows some inclination and they go like this, or they say Hare Krishna, or even if they dance a little bit as they go by, kind of wave. These are all indications of some inclination towards Krishna. We should take it. Who came up to me with a cigarette lighter yesterday? Jaikanai Prabhu came up very triumphantly and said, I got a cigarette lighter. And I was thinking about that as fire is sacred, actually, but it's profaned in the use we have today. Here's the contrast between Vedic culture and the modern so-called culture. What is the verse? Safam rajastamayiti prakritir gunas tire. No, that's not the verse. I want the verse that says that, because mode of ignorance, mode of passion, partivad dharano dumas, tasmad agni trayimayaha, tamasastu rajastasmat, sattvam yad brahmadarshan. It's mentioned in there, the mode of goodness, like fire. Why is fire good? You Vedic sacrifice. That's beyond what most people think of when they think of fire Even in the best university in America, they'll talk about fire in many different contexts, but not that one. They're not going to say fire is good because you can offer things into it for God. Right? Students, you all go to the best schools. Do they mention that? No, not so much? Hasn't come up? Okay, so that's the culture where you're thinking fire is there for the purpose of offering sacrifice to God. And that's real happiness. Fire in downtown San Francisco, it's a cigarette lighter. It's for puffing on smoke and breathing it into your lungs, and it's like, hey, I feel great. This is the contrast in the cultures. So when we see somebody emerge from that mire of ignorance, and they have some inclination, any inclination towards Krishna, towards the vibration of the spiritual world, towards the scene where it's obvious that the devotees are trying to do good for the world, then our worship is to go out of our way to facilitate them, to do everything that we possibly can to bring them closer, to give them a seat in the Kirtan, in the community, in the temple. That's real worship. That's the highest kind of worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And minus that, okay, we have God. We have our God. We have the God, or whatever way we want to say it, and then we have our own thing, but we don't have the open-heartedness to go out and bring everybody in as close as possible. Then I'll read the verse again. One who worships the deity of Godhead in the temples but does not know that the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is situated in every living entity's heart must be in ignorance as compared to one who offers oblations into ashes. And within the purport, there's already lines that are designated as bona fide for getting a tattoo on your way home. Okay, so now let's have discussion. You can object, or you can concur, you can offer more evidence.
I really like the point that you made about how we use fire in the material world, because I was thinking during Damodarashtakam this month, Agni is here to hand deliver our service to Krishna on our behalf, and it's such a wonderful service. And with the purity of fire as well, when we are purified, they talk about burning up our sins. It's something else that internal fire does. And the more pure we become, the more we reflect those minute traits of Krishna that we've mentioned as well. And the more that we reflect him, and we can be a covered devotee or we can be a pure devotee, but to whatever extent that we can directly reflect Krishna into the world around us, we improve the world around us, and the more we can reflect the transcendental platform to others.
Yes, and the metaphor of fire is something that Krishna uses, as you alluded to, in the Bhagavad Gita, where he calls Jnana Agni Sarvakarmanam. This means, Jnana Agni means that there's a fire of knowledge, and that fire can burn up unlimited sinful reactions of any living entity. Means that distribution of knowledge is the greatest kind of worship of Krishna and sacrifice that one can make. That's why it was important that we have the Bhagavad Gita in huge stacks, the bigger the better, and distribute to as many people as possible. That's actual worship of Krishna within the heart. It's the distributing the Jnana Agni. And once Prabhupada said, because we were being assailed by many lawsuits. Some people were suing because they said we weren't a bona fide religion. Other people said because you're brainwashing people and so forth. There was quite an assault from many different kinds of people who didn't appreciate the new look of the religious practice on the streets and so forth. And Prabhupada had mentioned in one conversation he said that these books, when distributed, will act like fire. And he said the fire has already started. He said now they can bring big fire brigades, but it doesn't matter, the fire will still burn on. So we can think of it like that. The material world is this dense forest of ignorance, And the more that we distribute the fire of knowledge, the more that ignorance, the forest of ignorance is burned down. Okay, a couple more comments? Uh-oh. Okay, Dhanavari, go ahead. And then we'll go to Priya Kishori, and then, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for the nice class and the verse. And I have a problem like respecting people who eat meat or like drink, and even in family gathering or social gathering. And I'm reading this. I know that I should respect them as they are living entity and they're part of Krishna. What is the best way to like not to judge them at the same time? And they are not, you can't give them, they're not interested in this religious discussion, but at the same time, how do I gain, like not that I'm hating, but I don't feel like I want to respect them or something. What is the best way to like gain and not to judge them? And
yeah, this is an excellent question and very important.
Thank you.
First is, as Prabhupada mentions, in Yastu Sarvani Bhutani Atmani Vanu Pashyati Sarva Bhuteshu Chatmanam Tatona Vijugupsate, from, should know where that's from. From? Are you sure? You positive? Say yes. Okay. He says, don't try to imitate an Uttama Adhikari. Although the verses, 2 verses, Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani Atmai Vadbud Vijanataha, etc., say in the Sri Upanishad, you should see all, if you see all living entities as parts of Krishna, then you won't hate anything or any being. And meanwhile, Prabhupada says, don't imitate the Uttama Adhikari who actually sees like that. So what should we do? Which is your question. That comes in the next verse, which is Ishvare Tadadineshu, next verse from the 11th canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam, after Archaryam Eva Haraye. Means, Ishvare Tadadineshu Balisheshu Dusatsucha Prema Maitri Kripopeksha Yakaroti Samadhyamaha. That means that the Madhyama Adhikari, the one who is deputed, have you been deputed to do good for the world? Say yes. Raise your hand. Raise your hands. You're all deputized. So you're deputed to go out and help the world, help the people of the world, right? Say yes. Yes. So, Ishvare Tadadineshu, there's 4 types of people and categories of entities that you should observe and different ways to interact with them. You ready? Say yes. So the first one, Ishvare, who's that? Krishna. That's what we talked about in the beginning. Ishvare Tadadineshu. So you should see Krishna. You should also see Krishna's devotees. You should also see the innocent. Who are the innocent? Those who are not averse to Krishna. They have an open mind. They don't know anything about Krishna, but they're open to it. And then the third one is Dvishatsu. Those have an aversion to Krishna. They don't like it. They don't like what you're doing. They don't like the idea. For one reason or another, they're not into it, right? So there's 4 types of people. The first is Krishna. You should develop your love. Prema. Then Maitri means friendship for the devotees. Wherever there's devotees, you should try to develop a friendship. Sometimes it's closer. You don't have the same relationship with every devotee. Some from a distance, you have appreciation. Some very close, as you're like-minded and you just want to be around the person all the time. Maitri, Kripa. Kripa means mercy. So for the innocent, those people who are open to Krishna, your job, your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to pour in as much mercy as possible. That's how you should organize your life. How can I give mercy to the living entities? That's first-class worship. But what about the envious people who don't want to hear it? Well, I'm going to save you a lot of time and trouble, and you can thank me later. Kripopeksha. Upeksha means you should leave them alone. Don't get involved. Don't try to jam it in there. Don't try to shoot the ball when you're going to obviously get blocked by somebody who's 6'6". Smash the ball back down. Just wait for the easy shot. And so you're given this, but if you avoid those people, which you're supposed to do, you're also supposed to pray for them. And Jiva Goswami adds that from a distance. Let them go. Don't try to twist their arm. Don't chase them down the street. Let them go, but offer a prayer. Krishna, please empower me to reach the hearts of such people in the future. Give me the wherewithal to do it. That's our duty. Okay, Pre-Kishori. We're moving fast now because we're running out of time.
So this verse that we read in the third canto reminded me of a verse that Radhanath Maharaj quotes quite often, which is Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. There's a part of the purport so the verse means the humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, or an outcast. And in the purport, it says a Krishna-conscious person does not make any distinction between species or caste. The brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view. A dog, a cow, or an elephant may be different from the viewpoint of species, but these differences are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned. This is due to their relation with the Supreme, for the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge.
Animals are people too. And we should be really careful to observe that the Supreme Personality of God is there within the heart of every living being and act accordingly. And respect. We should have respect for them. We should also not, again, artificially act as if we have the same relationship with animals as we do with sadhus or something like that. That's an artificial way. If animals want to join our Kirtan party, they're perfectly welcome. Animal can come. Cows. I have a book written by Janananda Swami, Animals in Krishna Consciousness. I believe it was Malaysia or Indonesia. I can't remember which country he was stationed in, but there was a cow that came to every Mangalartik. She'd just walk in. When the devotees did the Nrsimha prayers, she'd sit down too. She'd come and listen to the Bhagavatam class. They're welcome. If any cow wants to come in here. And if you're on parikram and the dog comes along and says, can I join? It's like, of course. Of course you can join. And Shivananda is saying, it's the beginning of the Antya-lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. A dog joins the Kirtan party and wants to go see Mahaprabhu and said, yeah, you can come too. Sometimes little spiders come and they swing down while you're reading the Bhagavatam. It's like, what are you doing? What are you reading there? It's like, I don't know if you'll understand, but you can listen and see what happens. And there's so many stories in the Gita Mahatmya about birds sitting in a tree when somebody was chanting their chapter of Bhagavatam, doing their chad, and they became liberated. Dead bodies came back to life and so forth. So, we should know that the transcendental vibration benefits all living entities, including plants. Haridas Thakur said the loud chanting of Hare Krishna is better than the soft chanting because it goes out to all the living entities, moving, non-moving, and it gives them a chance. And we felt that yesterday because, practically speaking, people are so covered by ignorance. Sorry if I'm on a soapbox this morning, don't mind. But people are so covered that it's almost as if they're dead. You could just feel it. And so when you're in the Dham and then you come to another environment, you go like, wow, this one's alive, that one's dead. Here everyone's looking for Krishna, here everyone's looking to avoid Krishna. But the Sankirtan wakes everybody up. Jeev Jago, and that's glorious. It's so fulfilling to be able to be the ones who represent Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to make the vibration, put the vibration into books and make sure it goes out into their homes and everything like that so that they can take advantage of it. We just want to do good for the world, right? Say yes. Okay, who's next? We have several. Oh, you were next. Okay. Representing the whole Sacramento Yatra, go ahead. No pressure.
So since we were talking about fire, I was thinking of this verse from Upanishad that I pray before going to bed. Agne nayasu patharai asman vishwani deva vayunani vidvan yuyud asma juhra nameno bhuistam te nama uktim vidhema. It took me a while. It took me like months to really dive and appreciate the whole verse. And I was pretty amazed that Lord is so powerful, that as powerful as fire, and then our prayer is to request him to burn our sinful reactions, because that's what holds us up in attaining the ultimate goal of serving Krishna eternally. So as I recited this more and more, I appreciated it more, and then I could understand the depth of it, like what a role Krishna plays in burning our sinful reactions. Thank you.
Thank for entering that verse into evidence. It's a very well placed and powerful metaphor.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the wonderful discussion. Prabhuji, I was thinking about this word, pouring oblations into the ashes. So basically, unless one gets purified by worshipping the deities, he may not have the vision to see the Paramatma situated in the hearts of all living entities. So these two seem contradictory to me. So can you please explain more on that?
The two things go together, Bhagavat Marga and Panchratrik Vidhi. And in our culture, luckily, because we're under the shelter of Rupa, Sanatana, Jiva Goswami, they've laid the groundwork, or they've set the mood and the attitude for everybody. So although we worship the deity in the temple has become a place where we bring people. It's not that we just close the doors and we worship the deity, although it's absolutely necessary to purify the senses, to be engaged in Panchratrik Vidhi, and we have to see the deity, so do all the other people too. Unless they get introduced to deity worship, there's a way that they'll still remain impersonalists in one way or another. So it's absolutely necessary, but the mixture is there. It's described that there's two tracks. There's deity worship, and there's also the wide preaching of the Bhagavatam and the holy name spreading, and our train, the train of our movement and our personal progress moves on these two tracks at the same time. That's the genius of our sampradaya, and that's why it's important to have an acharya, which is to know what is the proper mood and what is our proper placement. And Prabhupada has fine-tuned that. You'll notice that he advocated that we all go out, distribute Krishna consciousness to others, and that we bring people back to see the deity and worship the deity. In fact, we get more pleasure in watching other people come and see the deity than we do in just seeing the deity ourselves. At least we should anyway. Isn't it true when somebody comes in and they worship the deity? And who was telling me yesterday that they distributed a book at Union Square? And then who? Niharika was saying she had distributed a book, or many books. She distributed lots of books at Union Square. Way to go, Niharika. And she saw some of the people reading them. And so that gave her more of a thrill than reading it herself, practically, because she saw a new person looking at the book reading. So the mood of deity worship should be also preaching to the outside world. In fact, in some places, like my god brother Shiva Ram Swami, who's a consummate Sankirtan devotee, and in Krishna Volgi, near Budapest, he has a big farm. And the deity worship is at a very, very high standard. He's very exacting. In fact, he goes around with a white glove. I think I'm going to do that. And he checks every surface, see how is it? Has it been cleaned? And everything is first class. But the whole temple room is set up as a theater. And when people come there, and they do, to see the farm and the deities and everything like that, this community that lives outside of Budapest, buses come. People come in and they sit them all down in front of the deities, and then they tell about them. And then there's a contraption. It's a rope, a silk rope that goes over to the side of the altar. You've probably seen these in India, but you could pull it like this, and then there's a peacock fan that fans the deity. So all the people can line up, and then they pull the rope and it fans the deity, and they're involved. The idea is, we're not just there to worship the deity, but why are we shoche tato vimukha cetasa indriyartha? We just read that from Prahlad Maharaj. He said, I don't want to live in the forest. I don't want to go to the Himalayas, he said, either. No vows of silence for me. I want to live in the big cities where all the people are, where they're carrying this burden of ignorance. And shoche tato vimukha cetasa, he said, that's where my lamentation is. So when we have deity worship, what we're thinking is, let people be integrated into the culture of deity worship, let them see the deity and become part of it. So the two are mixed together, and they're both necessary at the same time. Who's next? We had two more. Okay, you forgot? Oh, online? No.
I had a question, Prabhu. Welcome back to the ISV.
Thank you.
So, Prabhu, regarding offering respect, normally what happens, some devotees are advanced, I can say, and it's easy to offer respect to them. And then some devotees whom I think I can help, and there also it's not difficult to determine the level of respect and offer the respect. But then there are some devotees whom I consider kind of equal to me. And that's where it gets a little more challenging to offer the proper respect. So can you please give some practical advice and tips on that?
But follow Lord Chaitanya's advice. He said, Chernada pisuni chena, toror apisa hishnuna, amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Prepare yourself to meet the world by being very humble, and also by showing respect to everybody and not expecting any respect in return. And if you practice that in all circumstances, then you'll find very harmonious relationships. It's a practice. Would anybody like to try it today? Yes. Okay, 3 or 4 people said yes. Everybody else, feel free to be as caustic in your relationship as you wish. No, just keep it in mind. That includes your best friends, your spouse. Did everybody shudder? I'm not going to show respect to my spouse. Whoever it may be, try showing respect and see how it goes. You'll become instantly self-realized if you do that, because then you start thinking, I'm not my ego, and my ego's not offended because I've suspended it for the day. So you have to be conscious and cultivate, and even amongst God brothers who are equals, we should be careful. Just be a little careful, because relationships change over time, and the more we're on the side of being a little careful, then the better it is. I mean, my God brothers, whatever relationship I have with them, I call them Prabhu. It's respectful. I have some people write back and say, don't call me Prabhu, Prabhu. Okay, Prabhu. But that feeling should be there at all times. Be a little careful, because as I was talking to Deva Amrita Swami one time, and I was saying, that God brother is very sensitive. And he said, we're all sensitive. Everybody's sensitive, so be really careful with people. And just know that whatever we say, do, it goes in. And it's better to be aware and conscious of how we're dealing with people. But mostly, we should be aware of our own sense of expectation. What do I expect? Do I expect some respect? And if the giving respect is not so hard, you've heard this before, but let me say it again, but not expecting any respect in return. That could be a rub point, but if you renounce that, there's a lot of things to renounce, like say, I'm only eating salad for Kartik, that's it. Okay, well that's not so hard, because you can always throw a few nuts in there or whatever, but extra salad oil. So, but if you'd say, I'm going to renounce taking respect from other people, see how that fits. And guess what? It fits just fine, because the ego is just a plague for us. It's always needling us that, oh, they should have looked at you better, they should have not cut in line, they touched your shoe, why did they touch your shoe, don't they know who I am, and so forth. Just all these kinds of harassments by the false ego are not necessary. And Lord Chaitanya has given us carte blanche to just cut that part out of our life, and it won't be an appendage that we needed. It's actually unnecessary. Just practice it in all circumstances, and relationships go 100% better when we're in that position. The sort of idea, I live to be corrected. One caveat is that we don't accept bullying, and we also don't tolerate abuse by other people. If that comes into play and it reaches a threshold of that, just because you're not showing respect, it doesn't mean that you have to tolerate it and be a doormat. It has to be dealt with, because in any relationship or any community or society, bullying and abusing others is not allowed. And it has to be dealt with quickly and decisively. Om Tat Sat. And we have one online. Oh, look, it's Chakadola. Chakadola, are you in Vrindavan or Delhi or what? It's cold there, I think. How could it be that you're on mute, Chakadola? Chakadola can do anything. We were in a room in Govardhan. Well, that's good. I can talk about him since you can't talk. But
Hare Krishna.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Chakadola.
Yes, Guruji. Thank you so much for wonderful class. I was thinking of one verse in 4th canto, which we read in Govardhan, in which it is said that Lord eats through two mouths. One is fire, and one is through the mouth of the devotees. So I was correlating this verse today with the today's verse, that if we put the oblation in the ashes, it will not reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, if we worship the Lord but don't respect his devotees or the other living entities who are his part and parcel, so it will be not that much beneficial.
Yeah, that's a really important point. And it's more evidence to show how the culture is to worship the devotees, to feed the Lord through the devotees, and so forth. And that's the advanced concept of devotional service. What to speak of giving mercy to all living beings, which is extremely advanced concept, and is Jive Doi Krishna Nam Sarva Dharma Sar. It's the essence of Dharma, is to show compassion for other living beings, starting with oneself. Don't let your mind and ego beat you up and treat you like you're worthless. Have respect for yourself also as a devotee, in the sense of that we're better, we shouldn't be profaned by the urges of the mind and senses, but we should rise above it and come to our own glory as servants of the Lord. Om Tats, or as they say in Japan, Om Tato Sato. Now, what do you have for us, Rasheshwari Leela? That's all right, we can read lips. Go ahead, just say it, see if we can figure it out. Could you understand what she said?
Okay, I was not allowed to unmute myself, so that's why. Okay, Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you, Prabhu, and welcome back. So grateful to hear your voice. And I was just having a reflection that devotees' voices are themselves so healing. And while listening to all the devotees, I was thinking this is the best association, the sound vibration of devotees. So thank you so much. We have Dhriti presenting today, and she will be presenting on how to develop determination and avoid distractions on bhakti.
Is that picture just after Govinda Kund on the way to the Nrsimha temple?
Yes, it looks like that. I don't know. I know it's Govardhan. I don't know exactly where.
It's a really nice picture.
Thank you.
Okay, so we welcome Dhriti, and thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It's actually very pleasing. Raseshwar is not here, so I'm actually doing the introduction for Dhriti. And we all know Dhriti since she was born. I still remember the little thing that she used to say. I used to ask Dhriti in Hindi. Dhriti, for all of you who don't know Hindi, I will try to translate it. I said, Dhriti, how come you're so good? Dhriti, tu itni achhi kaisi hai? And she'll smile and this little girl will say, Krishna ne banaya mujhe. So it's that means that Krishna made me this good. So it's actually my pleasure to introduce her. She's a 10th grader, a sophomore, and 15-year-old. And she's in our Kaishora class in Sunday school. So let's have a big hand for Dhriti.
Yeah. I'll stand. Yeah. Hare Krishna. My name is Dhriti, and today I'm going to be talking about how to develop determination and avoid distractions in bhakti. So first of all, what is bhakti? Bhakti is devotional service unto God, and it is the art of the heart. So basically, it is based on selfless love and service to Lord Vishnu. Bhakti is no one's monopoly, which means that there is no limitations to who is qualified to perform service to the Lord. So you don't have to be a brahmana or someone of a higher caste or a higher social status in order to perform bhakti. Here are a couple of examples of people who have performed bhakti and defied this stereotype, like that people have to be in a higher caste to perform bhakti. So they defied that stereotype. It's Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj. They were both from demoniac backgrounds, but yet they still offered their prayers to Lord Vishnu and surrendered themselves to them. And Nrsimhadev came to Prahlad Maharaj's rescue at the time of danger. Gajendra and Garuda, they were both animals, but they still were devoted to Lord Vishnu. And Garuda is one of the most trusted carriers of Lord Vishnu. Dhruv Maharaj was only 5 years old, but he still spent 6 months in austerity praying to Lord Vishnu, and he saw his entire form in the span of 6 months. And Bali Maharaj was the king of demons, but he still surrendered unto Lord Vamandev, and Lord Vamandev was his doorkeeper. So I have a Shastric reference from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9 and Verse 9. Manye dhanabhijana rupa tapashruta jas teja prabhava bala paurusha buddhi yoga naradhanaya hi bhavanti parasya pumso bhaktya tutosha bhagavan gajayutapaya. Prahlad Maharaj continued, one may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. So today we're going to be taking the story of the Ramayana as an example of like what we can follow to learn from it and how to perform bhakti, because it's full of many great devotees who selflessly served Lord Ram. For example, the sage Valmiki, the sage who wrote the Ramayana, he used to be a cruel hunter, but became a great author by the mercy of Narad Muni. Guha, he was a tribal man who helped Lord Ram cross the river when he was first exiled, and he was labeled by Lord Ram as one of his greatest devotees and friends. Jatayu was a vulture who saved who tried to save Mother Sita from Ravana when she was being kidnapped, and he fought until death. Lord Ram, after he died, performed the funeral rites for Jatayu as if he was his own father. Shabri was an old woman who took Lord Ram and Lakshman in her house and fed them berries. She tasted them first before feeding it to them out of pure love, just to see if it was sweet or good enough for him to eat. This proves her innocent yet intense love. Sugriva was the king of monkeys, and he basically sent his entire monkey army to help Lord Ram save Mother Sita. And Vibhishana was from the enemy's side. He was actually Ravana's brother, but still he surrendered unto Lord Ram, and he became one of Ram's best friends. We're going to zoom in further and focus on Hanuman and his journey to find Mother Sita. The great devotee Hanuman, he displayed the transformative potency of bhakti so that he cultivated determination and avoided distractions in the journey. So it's a great example for us to learn from, to cultivate determination and avoid distractions. So Hanuman was an ardent servant of Lord Ramachandra. He's equipoised with strength, intelligence, mental balance, efficiency, and etiquette. By the desire of Lord Ramachandra, Hanuman set a goal, which was to find Mother Sita. He poured his life and soul into this journey, which is why he's Lord Rama's most trusted servant. We can learn from Hanuman by always first setting a goal and being determined to follow it no matter what. When Hanuman and his party could not find Sita, they were disappointed and they made a vow to fast until death. However, Jatayu's brother, Sampati, he came and informed them of Sita's whereabouts in Lanka. This gave them hope, but it was short-lived because they saw the big ocean and they were like, how are we going to cross this ocean? But then Jambavan, he came to Hanuman and he boosted his confidence by telling him his glories and glorifying him and telling him all his accomplishments and strengths, and instilled hope in his heart. When Hanuman reached Lanka, Sita was worried that the monkeys in Sugriva's army couldn't cross the ocean. However, Hanuman gave her hope by saying that they were equal and greater to him in strength and could easily cross the ocean. Sometimes in a journey, all you need for confidence is a little hope. Losing hope is the greatest impediment in one's life. The really unfortunate are not those who face difficulties or lack facilities, but those who have lost hope. Take blessings and limit temptations. Before going on the journey, Hanuman took the blessing of his father Vayu and his teacher before leaving. Before heading to your goal, we should always offer respect to great devotees. As Hanuman went on with his path, a huge mountain called Mount Mainaka came in his path. This mountain was originally made for asuras who tried to cross the ocean, but they tried to lure them into not crossing the ocean. So the Mainaka mountain, upon seeing Hanuman, asked him if he wanted to rest for a little while. Without falling into temptation, Hanuman respectfully declined and said he had no time. One should not accept comforts that dampen one's determination and enthusiasm. Don't give in to egoistic competition. So as Hanuman went on with his journey, a Rakshasi called Surasa came there, and she told him that Lord Brahma gave her a benediction that she could eat whatever comes in her path. So she requested Hanuman to go into her mouth so that she could eat him. Hanuman first declined, saying that he had a long journey ahead and he had to do this mission for Lord Ramachandra, but she insisted and tried to provoke him. So she opened her mouth 10 yojanas wide, and then he became the size of 10 yojanas, and then she became the size of 20, and then he became the size of 20, and then she became the size of 30, and then he shrunk to the size of a thumb, went inside her mouth, and then came out quickly. And she was like, oh, look, see, I've done what you asked for. So she was very impressed with his wit, and then she let him pass. So the moral is that sometimes when we clarify our goals to those who try to impede us, they will always try to provoke us. We must act wisely by not needlessly arguing or competing with such people, but showing timely intelligence and presence of mind. Destroy envy. So as Hanuman went on with his journey, there was this Rakshasi called Simika who tried to kill him. She stopped his way and she tried to eat him, but he shrunk to the size of a thumb again, went inside her mouth and tore her heart to pieces and killed her. She represents envy. Envy chokes our progress and makes us lose our strength. So learning from Hanuman, we should always destroy envy. So let's go over a summary of what we can learn from Hanuman's journey. The first step is to set a goal and be very determined and put our life and soul into this goal. The second step is to gain confidence by being hopeful and determined. The third step is to take blessings from your gurus and senior Vaishnavas. And the fourth step is to limit distractions, which means not giving into egoistic competition, destroying envy, and limiting temptations. So when Hanuman reached Lanka, he found Mother Sita and comforted her. He did not feel in the very least tired because serving Lord Ramachandra gave him happiness. When devotional service is performed with a selfless intention for the pleasure of the Lord, there is no possibility of boredom or exhaustion, despite many difficulties. So once you serve the Lord, you will always feel a sense of satisfaction in the heart because you've served Him with all your love and devotion. Thank you for listening. Hare Krishna.
May I? Thank you, Dhriti. Where have you been all our lives? That's amazingly articulate. Even starting with the starting gun there, as you first went off, and the first phrase I noted, you said, you talked about defying the stereotype. That was a really strong start, where I started thinking, wow, this is going to be clear and articulate. And it was throughout the whole talk. I like you brought in a verse from the 9th chapter, the 7th canto. It was really well placed. And all the lessons that you brought to bear were usable, stuff that we could take home. And I also just noticed that you had a general sense of the whole process. Most of the time you were just speaking impromptu based on what you'd gleaned from studying the matter and laying it out. So it was very easy to listen to because it wasn't rote. It was something that you had imbibed practically. Only room for improvement I could see was because I was taking copious notes as you were speaking. On some of the slides you didn't have the name of the person, and I wasn't familiar with all of them. And so if you want to fix your slides and put the name of the person, the iconic figure that represents each lesson, that could be very helpful. I think that was one of the best ones I've ever heard, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Dhriti. It was wonderful. I really liked the slides that you put together, especially where all the different background of like demons and animals, they are also, devotees of the Lord, and very, very beautifully done. I also liked how you recited the verse. And I remember that because you recited so beautifully, it brings out that you're such a nice Kirtaniya that I know of. And I remember when you were a baby in your mom's lap, as your mom, Nilachal, is a very good Kirtaniya also. And when she would sing Kirtan and Dhriti, just a baby in the lap, she would start humming after Nilachal. And we used to think that, yeah, she definitely is going to sing like Nilachal. We used to think like that, and she does. Thank you so much, Dhriti. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It was a very nice presentation. One thing that struck me was when you were describing many lessons on the way of Hanuman's journey to Lanka, I was thinking there are so many lessons, how am I going to keep it in mind? So many points are coming up. But then suddenly the next slide came, summary points. Set a goal, and then take blessings, then no distraction was at the end. And what is the third point? Being hopeful and determined. Thank you. So when that slide came, the emotion that came to my mind was, you read your reader's mind or your audience mind. That's an amazing quality. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Can I say something? So I just want to congratulate you, Dhriti. I think it was an excellent presentation. And I also want to mention that this is her last semester in Kaishwara class. She will move on to the youth club next semester. So I'm going to miss you a lot, Dhriti. I've been having the fortune of teaching Dhriti since she was in Damodar, which was almost 3 years till now. So she's one of my most favorite students. Very obedient, very enthusiastic, very witty, and a great, a great asset to our community. So thank you so much for all that you do and your sincerity and the joy that you bring in everyone's hearts. And it's wonderful to see that, your slides, they were one of the best in terms of, like I was mentioning to her also earlier that, what software did you use? This is amazing. But yes, it shows your interest and your hard work for anything that you take up. So all the best, and look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Really nice presentation. I felt like I learned a lot about it. One of my favorite quotes from your presentation was, "The unfortunate are those who do not have facilities, but those who have lost hope." And it's really inspiring, especially going on Sankirtan. And yesterday being in San Francisco, seeing people without much facility, but still opening up Bhagavad Gita, and maybe there's a glimmer of hope there. So I think your presentation kind of resonated that. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Dhriti, for amazing, amazing presentation. I have known Dhriti since her second birthday, and I would say so many years have passed. And today when Dhriti came and stood up in front of us, I was like, now I'll get to hear her voice because she's so quiet. And like Guru Maharaj said, that the opening of your presentation was just amazing. You talked about the stereotype. One of the things that I also liked was that you said that bhakti is the art of the heart. That was really, really very powerful, and it resonated with the class that we had in the morning. And again, as I was going through your slide presentations, I was also thinking that, they are being amazingly done. And I was taking notes on, okay, I should put things like that. Even at my work, I was thinking like, here I am sitting here listening to your presentation, but there's so much I can use, in every aspect of my life. And I also did feel that the names could have been there again, because I'm not that much familiar with the Ramayana, so that was definitely a wonderful thing. And since I've hardly heard you, then I don't know the witty aspect of it, which the Sishwari Mataji mentioned, but I did notice that when you were making the presentation about how Hanuman became 20 yojanas, 30 yojanas, and then entered the mouth and came back, and then he said, "Oh, that was witty." So I said, "Wow, the nice aspect too, Tuti there." And of course, the summary in the end was amazing. So keep up the good work. Thank you, Tuti.
Hare Krishna.
It's a great presentation, Triti, and one of the things that I takeaways from this presentation is that the egoistic competition, sometimes I feel trapped in that thing, but then again, I remind myself, bhakti is not an egoistic competition with other devotees. It's a progress of heart. It's an internal journey, and it's such a great presentation. I couldn't imagine that you could pull off such a great presentation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the nice presentation. So one of the points that I liked is when Hanuman met Sita, he was not showing any symptoms of tiredness. So that reminded me of something that I read recently. So in the section of Vidura meeting Uddhava, so Prabhupada writes that in the material service there is retirement, but in the service of the Lord, right, there is no retirement, and the service attitude increases as the age progresses. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Riti. That was wonderful. I just want to mention to everybody that, is there someone online? Okay. I just want to mention that, Raseshwari puts a lot of hard work in making beautiful presentations and teaching the children. So with Riti, I also want everybody to give a big hand for Raseshwari. She's the teacher for Sunday School Kaishwara. For those who don't know, we actually
I learned everything from you, Sukeshwari Mataji. So thanks to you.
So, thank you, Raseshwari. So for those who don't know, we have Saturday and Sunday School Kaishwara now. So please do let everybody know. It's from year 12 to 14. And then from 15 to 17, we have Youth Club as well. Of course, we have all the other classes. Thank you. Hare Krishna. In person. Next is Guru Puja. We'll make sure we get all the asanas out, cleaned up, so we can get started with Guru Puja, please. Hare Krishna.
And also, if you have parked your car, Hyundai Sonata outside, it would be towed. So if your car is on the parking lot, please remove it. Thank you. Hyundai Sonata. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we're going to start in 15 seconds. Now 10. And we're going to start with It's a beautiful prayer, set of prayers, which are well known in the Gaudiya Vaishnava community, so it's good to know them. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Are you ready? Namashrestam manamapi shachibhutramatra sarupam. Please join. Shirupam tasya grajanuruparim maturim gushtavatim radha kundam girivanmaho radhika madhavasham bhakto yasya tatatikipaya shri gurum tamatosi. Hey Guru Jnanadharina Bandho Swanandadharina Vrindavana Sita Prasirana Hey Dinabandho Pranayika Sindho Guru Prasadam Mahimanda Bodhe Vaksha Parade Vaksha Radha Padme Naivo Prayanta Pachitim Kavayasta Devesham Ramaya Shati Kridam Vidam Udasmaranta Yotara Hishkanavitam Shivam Vajinda Acharya Chaitya Pushasvadatim Yanakti. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Srila Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatana Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radhakund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind and humble. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense net of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science cannot fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with a prolonged lifetime of Brahman. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya, and internally as the Super Soul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great honor and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all his love. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, work out the way. From him ecstatic reign the eminence. By him we wish to destroy. Vedic scriptures singing spirit. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord Master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of the lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the cities. Sri Guru Charana Bandom Vistava Prapti hoy jao Krishna Prapti hoy Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Chaitanya Nityanando Gadadhar Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari If not now, when? Namam Vishwaram Sachidanandarutam Prapayantam. Tasvam na prema tasam kataviti vande. Prima bhaktin sakam niprayasya Shivaya Tubhyam. If it was in the evening, we'd just go all night. But I just realized we have service today because it's a Saturday. So I don't want to push too late because there's brahmacharis here, maybe they were here, but they got to go and sing Kirtan, as all of us do. So it would be nice. That's Utsahan. And that's Tat Tat Karma Pravartana. It's Prabhupada used to notice the kids, and they just come into the community and then emulate whatever's going on, and they have spontaneous attraction for it. And he said, don't think they're not making advancement from that level. It's extremely helpful. So we have a couple of announcements. First is from Bhakti community to hear what's going on in Pavani Bhakti. Nope.
Haribol? Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Sorry. It felt like the fish is out of the water, but we were really in the desert without you. But as soon as you are here, we feel like life is back and we survived by your mercy somehow. And Bhakti community also survived. Somehow the programs kept going without stopping. And I was reading about, I wanted to ask all of you, what is the greatest epidemic that you know about? Like in a bad way, like something bad. Sorry, what? No, like the pandemic or something like that. So, as per the World Health Organization, stress is the greatest epidemic of the 21st century. I think you all can relate to it, especially being in the Bay Area. At least one of the recent programs we did for Bhakti community, one person came, made me realize that people are going through a lot, extreme level of stress. Extreme, and they're feeling like bodily problems leading to more stress, anxiety, and all kinds of deep troubles. And when this person came, he was, I've seen him, I didn't know he was going through stress. I came to know after the fact what he was going through. But he was just deeply meditating and enjoying the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And I felt like, that's what is really needed. So we all give books to so many people. But if that's just the beginning, it's not the end. Don't think that, we made our scores and that's the end of it. That's really just the beginning. And we do understand that all of you cannot take the people to the next level or on their journey to the spiritual path. If you cannot take care of this person whom you're giving the book, somebody else can. And if you trust that somebody else, please pass the baton to that person. And that could be potentially Bhakti community. Please consider whoever you're giving books, whether what kind of color that person, height that person, or whatever race that person is, it doesn't matter. Just please pass on the baton to somebody who you trust, and please do consider connecting them to Bhakti community. We are creating a very, very psychologically safe ecosystem and very non-judgmental environment where people can just feel themselves and grow in the spiritual path. So please, if you need more details, please go to www.bhakticommunity.com. It tells about all the programs. We have 2 new flyers. One is a very small flyer for Mantra Zone, and it has a lot of details about what happens in Mantra Zone. And then we have our bookmark. It has been redone. And the artist behind all this is Kennedy and James Prabhu. So big hand to Kennedy. Thank you, Kennedy. I see their messages back and forth. They exchange hundreds of messages to come to the level of perfection that they come to with these cards. So please try to use them whenever you can, when you give books and introduce people to Bhakti community and Mantra Zone. Haribol.
Malini, are you up for making announcements this morning, or have you delegated? You've delegated. Kameshwari, please. Just kudos to Malini, who got off a flight and then came downtown, and I'm sorry that you lost your voice. I have a recipe called Katha. You know Katha? Everybody knows but me, but it saved my life. Chakadola made it for me every day in Govardhan. It's very helpful. Anyway, everyone's got a remedy, but if you don't have the recipe, I can send it to you. Kameshri, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Today, this weekend, we will continue Sankirtan. Yesterday, for the SFO Harinaam, the latest number I got from Malini is 1896 Trimurti sets. That's we have, all of us together we have done. Numbers are still, I think, because some devotees carried books in the car, they distributed in the BART, and then it got added. And yesterday was very, very, when I every year go out to SFO and distribute books, I actually feel grateful because the opportunity of service, we never know, how, every year I think that I hope I am there next year, especially because San Francisco feels special because one thing is people are very open, and as Vaisesika Prabhu said that everybody is in need of the, they are looking for happiness. And the best thing we can give is, as Prabhu was saying, Chivedaya, the holy name. So that was our opportunity yesterday to masses of the people, and all the devotees participated very enthusiastically. We missed many devotees of ours who are on Yatra, but they were sending prayers to us, and with their prayers, all the devotees did really huge. There are a couple of things I wanted to share from yesterday, that all the people at San Francisco, they are actually doing shopping and looking for good deals, and most of them ignore us when we are trying to offer a book or try to even say hi. They just pass by, and it's very, very discouraging. But we always try to remember that Vaisesika Prabhu says it gives you chitrakta, the spiritual blood, just by taking that no. And for those who are doing for many, many years, we know that actually after 10 to 12 no's, then you actually 1 to 2 or 3 books will go. So if you know that, then you keep going, and then that's how all the 1,000 numbers are collected over there. There was one lady who came, and she said, she looked at the book in my hand, and she said, how many gods are there? And then I said, there is one God, and he manifests in his energies in different personalities at different times. And she rolled her eyes and she walked away. And I saw her crossing the street, across the signal. Then we got engaged again. Other people came. After 15 minutes, she came back. She came back and she said, okay, I want to see what's in this book. I want to try it. And then she took the book and she said that there is so many confusing theories that people present, and nobody knows the truth. And I never believe anything anybody's presenting, but I want to try it out anyway. And I actually didn't do anything other than presenting the book to her. But just by being there, actually people get the chance to receive these books. Then there was one more person, Errol. He was from Turkey, and he is visiting here. He is actually a student here of literature. He's studying English. And he talked for a long time. He appreciated Indian culture and everything. He said, but no, not this time. Everything is all good, but I don't want to, read these books right now. Maybe I'll visit your IK Bhakti community card. He was very enthusiastic and all. So he left, and then after some time he came back. So he came back and he said, okay, I'll take the book. I know in India, all the things come from India is all good, and I appreciate it. Maybe I'll try it out. So even though they were saying no, and we were still happy, it's okay, they say no, but they were coming back. That was, and it happened multiple times actually yesterday. I was surprised that how, if you let them go happily, they think that, yeah, I missed something there. So it was wonderful experience. I'm very grateful to all the devotees association. It was very, very inspiring. I have a lot of stories from what I observed devotees were, distributing. Shravan Prabhu was there, and in the Bart, when he knew that we have to do around 2,000 cases, he said, I want to distribute 30 before I have my prasadam.
Yeah.
And he was counting, and then after lunch he continued, and then somebody asked him, so how much did you did for the whole day? And he said, I lost the count, it was too much fun. So thank you so much. We can keep sharing more later. Some devotees are still continuing. Western team is going out today. Adinath Kotukarna Prabhu is not here. Adinath Prabhu is here, but what I have a list from them, which I'll quickly tell. Fremont Walmart, Union City Walmart, Mountain View Downtown, and Stanford Mall. Stanford Mall is where the brahmacharis from LA are going. So if you like to join them, please contact Adinath Prabhu or Vaishnav Toshani Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Any other announcements? Yes.
I just wanted to acknowledge all. Just wanted to acknowledge all the devotees for making yesterday's festival a very big success. First of all, thanks to Guru Maharaj and Guru Ma for coming back, because that made half of the success was there, or even more. To begin with, the cooks. So Hansapriya Mataji, who's our regular cook, she is traveling. So Nilachal Chandra covered for her. She did so good, Her cooking, she's quiet, she's fast. I mean, she did everything, by herself. Of course, we found her some good helpers. And the helpers were Venugita Mataji, Prema Kishori Mataji, Lekha Mataji, Sachindra Krishna Prabhu, Danakeli Chintamani Mataji, and their kids, Arman and Amaira. Nitai Kirtan Prabhu was there always to help her, and Manjula Kanta Mataji. Cookies were made by Devi Kumari Mataji, Sumati Mataji, Ajit Arjun Prabhu, and they had a team of packers also. I may not be knowing all the names, I'll say whatever I know. And prasadam transportation was done by Sutra Malik Prabhu, Tadya Seva Prabhu. Cleaning was done by Hari Sankirtan Prabhu and Praveen Prabhu. The Sankirtan other items were carried by Menudhari Prabhu, Tarun Prabhu, and I have those names till now. So thanks to all the Sankirtan devotees, all the servers, and everyone who participated in the festival. Thank you so much. Just wanted to add, Maharaj, that today we were reading, a devotee is one who respects everyone, doesn't ignore anyone, and I think yesterday's festival was just the right place to, practice this, even if we don't have that within our heart, but it was the right place to practice. And I observed how, in San Francisco, it's unfortunate to see, some people who are coming intoxicated or unclean sometimes, or some were drooling also, but devotees I saw, they were, I probably had, some look scary to me also, but devotees were they just were so compassionate, so it was even nice observing each of them, so thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
I felt that for the regulars down there, like the police, were such a welcome sight. You can imagine being downtown every day. It's the same old thing. It's people doing their little shtick, which means like some routine they do to make money downtown, and it's, boring. And little ostentatious in some cases, and then there's the regular stuff going on down there. There's a lot of people who are down and out. There's a lot of crime. In any case, I just noticed that when we're down there, the police, as an example, amongst others, when they'd go by, they'd always smile, you'd take a book, they'd appreciate. It's just so different. The energy of the devotees distributing books and chanting Harinaam is so different from the regular shtick that goes on down there, that everyone just trying to hustle something. But the devotees are so bright, and the music and the food and all that kind of stuff. In many places, or even in San Francisco, in days gone by, they would have stopped us from distributing food. And they just, there was a group called Food Not Bombs, and they were always trying to distribute food, and they'd always get stopped because they didn't have the proper permits. You gotta have a special kitchen, et cetera, et cetera. But they just let everything slide because everything's so degraded down there that they think like, hey, more power to you. It's that same attitude years ago when I lost my airport. And by the way, SFO is the airport, it's not San Francisco. Could we get that straight? Because when you're catching a train, if you go to SFO, you're going to the airport, not San Francisco. SFO, ORD means, ORD means O'Hare Airport. Everyone, they all have a 3-letter code, and SFO means the airport. So if you tell somebody SFO who thinks in terms of using these codes properly, you might send them to the wrong place. Any case, I was distributing books down at Fisherman's Wharf because I lost my airport during the Gulf War. And when police were harassing everybody, but they saw me and they go, "What are you selling, books?" He goes, "Go ahead." As if that's what you're supposed to do, right? Instead of just asking for money and things like that. So congratulations to everyone. Shamalungi, well done keeping the team going to organize a big event. There's a lot that we can look at in retrospective to ramp up for the next time, even looking at other spots and making the presentation even better than it was. So that's what we look forward to. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Malini, for organizing everything, and the team members for making sure that the books were there front and center. It's really hard to get everything down there on time and then it's stacked up, and then what to speak and take it down at the end of the day. That's even harder. But you did it in grand fashion. Well done. Hare Krishna. That brings us to our favorite song of the day. Oh, yes, please.
Hare Krishna, today's prasadam was cooked by the Bhakti community team, Pavani Bhakti Mataji, Kamal Shri Mataji, Suyash Prabhu, Vicky Mataji, Shweta Mataji, Uma Mataji, Neha Mataji, Anay, Ryan, and Niharika.
Sharida Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Please come take prasadam. Hari Bol. Picnic area.